Welcome to Living the Smarter Science of Slim, where we provide a scientifically proven lifestyle for long-term health and fat loss by eating more and exercising less, but smarter.
Eat smarter, exercise smarter, live better. I am so ready for that.
Hi everyone, this is Carrie Brown. I am in the studio with the awesomeness that is Jonathan Bailor.
Jonathan Bailor, and I am wearing a Smarter Science of Slim t-shirt and shorts because it is hot in the studio and I came prepared this time, t-shirt and shorts, and I'm in my socks only, so
I'm saying nothing.
No, not
nothing.
I mean, it's hot in the studio. Carrie, how you doing?
Good.
Today, Carrie.
Yes.
We're going to start with something I'm not sure you're going to be too interested in, but then we'll
Okay.
move to things you may be
Is
interested
it exercise?
in. No.
Oh.
But it's a topic that comes up often in the context of exercise.
Oh.
It's eating branched chain amino acids.
Can you see my eyes glaze over, people?
So this is going to be a bit more...
I'm going to try and get excited. Oh, Jonathan, yes, let's talk about that.
Let's talk about BCAAs.
Oh, let's.
So,
what is that?
So, when we eat protein, it breaks down into amino acids. Okay. So, supplement manufacturers produce just straight branched chain amino acids, which is just a subset of amino acids. And the idea is that these branched chain amino acids there are different amino acids do different things in the body. And for example, the amino acid leucine is critical in triggering muscle protein synthesis, which is the actual process by which our body regenerates itself when we build muscle.
Okay.
So people will take BCAAs or branched chain amino acids to aid in the process of muscle protein synthesis and just feeding our muscles and things like that. So it's generally used.
So they pick and choose.
They pick and choose. The question is always like, should I take BCAAs? Should I take branched chain amino acids? Well, keep in mind that branched chain amino acids are to protein, like beef, what coconut oil is to coconut. Right? It is a subset of the whole food.
So it works better when you eat the whole thing.
Well, it kind of depends on your goals, but like I don't know if anyone's going to sit down and eat a bowl of branched chain amino acid powder and be like, that was delicious. So, and then you have to ask yourself, I mean, yes, it's going to absorb faster, blah, 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 athletics. If you are a highly, highly, highly specialized athlete, one, you're probably not listening to this podcast. But two, should you then experiment with these? Probably, because there's things like how fast they get into your bloodstream and blah, 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 where taking branched chain amino acids instead of eating a chicken breast would have some benefit for you. If you are not an elite athlete, non-starchy vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, whole food fats, low fructose fruits, exercise less but smarter, drink water, sleep a lot, smile a lot. That's it. Just
keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
All right.
KISS. Keep it simple.
Stupid.
Now, on to a topic that you'll be more interested in.
That's one thing I do not have to put on my list of things to do.
Yes, you can.
Because I'm going to keep it simple.
Cross that off your list of things to think through. Sausage and kale.
Oh, love the former. Not so crazy about the latter.
So the reason I bring this up is because a lot of people are not super fans of kale, but it is a nutrient powerhouse. It is like the epitome of sanity.
Hey, look, I did a smoothie with kale in it, okay?
Well, no, okay, so
that was my gift.
No, but that's also part of the problem, right? So kale, like raw and in smoothie form, it's extremely bitter. Like when you blend romaine or you blend spinach, it takes on the flavors of the other stuff. Kale's like, yo, I'm Kale. Like, you need to understand I'm Kale.
No. There were, I don't remember. I think it was the mint chocolate one. You cannot taste the kale in it.
You understand my point. Kale has a much stronger flavor.
Yes.
Now,
Kale's nasty.
What listeners ignore Carrie. If you want to be healthy, then the reason I said sausage and kale. So if you're not a huge kale fan, then I would recommend not trying to eat it raw. I would recommend, and this is just a general principle for people who want to do something just extremely quick. If you have something that is a bit fattier, still like a SANE fat, so like a nice SANE sausage or maybe like a fattier cut of a grass-fed beef or even eggs, and you combine the kale with it in like a scramble mixture type of thing, getting the kale to cook down in some nice healthy fats, and then eating it in conjunction with the other stuff as a bit of a hash action. Carrie, I got to tell you, I haven't always been a vegetable fan, but you give me some delicious whole food fats, nutrient-dense proteins, and some kale together, and I'm loving it.
Oh, you make me laugh.
You're not down with my sausage and kale scramble?
You're not convincing me.
All right, well.
But I will try it.
So, and
now I've got to come up with something kale. Oh!
Something, well, the other thing I like about cooking with kale is it's more substantive. Like if you were to try to cook with romaine lettuce, it just wouldn't work. It would turn into nothing. And when you cook into spinach, it kind of wilts down into this mush. Whereas kale, it's like, I'm kale. Like, I'm here, and I'm substantive, and you can't completely destroy me. So it fights back. Anyway, that's so combining kale with other stuff, cooking kale, if you haven't tried it, it's good stuff. You can also make kale chips, which are quite spectacular. A lot of kids like kale chips. I'm trying to give a shout out for kale. Carrie's not buying it.
I will make something yummy with kale. Oh.
You heard it here first.
I just say that?
You heard it here first, folks.
That was one of those moments where my mouth was going, yes, I'll do that, and my brain was going, shut up!
So, anyway, and if you want some, I'm going to give actually, I don't usually give plugs for stuff, but I'm going to give a plug for stuff because this guy is an awesome guy. He came on the guest podcast. His name is, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, Drew, I'm so sorry. His last name is Dr. Drew, it's either Ramey, I think it's Drew Ramey. Anyway, his book is 50 Shades of Kale, and I've been playing around with that. It's got a bunch of cool kale recipes in it. If you're interested in learning more about kale, you can check out that book. Some of the recipes are not particularly sane. Drew, it's okay. It's okay. I know you didn't mean to do this to me, but it has some great inspiration in there, if nothing else. So, 50 Shades of Kale.
Okay, I'll try it, but just because it's you. There's nobody else on this earth that will get me to eat kale.
So, Vitamix Adventures is our next subject. Carrie, tell me about some of your Vitamix adventures, because I have a list of some that I wanted to share with our listeners that I've been doing recently.
Misadventures?
Sure, that works.
If you're so my number one tip is if you put nuts in a Vitamix, be really careful, because if you want ground nuts, you're very, very likely to end up with nut butter if you're not careful, because a Vitamix will make nut butter faster than you can say Jack Robinson.
Well, and also getting it out of the Vitamix. I mean, I love the Vitamix, but getting it out once you do that is not the easiest thing in the world.
So just be careful. And I think I mentioned this before, I actually have a regular blender and a Vitamix. I don't always choose to use the Vitamix, because sometimes the Vitamix, much as I love it, it just makes things, it removes all texture. Yeah, and sometimes you want a bit of texture going on.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And always remember to put the lid on, people. Especially with the Vitamix. I mean, with any blender, but especially with the Vitamix, because you turn that sucker on and it is all over the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and speaking of the Vitamix having an impact on texture, so Carrie was kind enough to treat me and my family to some amazing SANE ice cream, and it was just absolutely spectacular, and I can't hope to ever approximate the deliciousness of that SANE ice cream. But in my assembly world, my world of assembly, I have been using my Vitamix to make a ice cream derivative that is just unbelievable. I've really enjoyed it. So I take like a handful of frozen strawberries, and I take some guar gum per Carrie Brown. I might take a little bit of stevia, take a little bit of xylitol, blend that all up in the Vitamix for a while to make sure that's nice and pulverized. And then I put some powdered egg whites in there. So just pasteurized powder.
I think puree is the word you want, sweetie.
Sure, but I mean, it's really pureed. Let's put it that way.
I'm just being facetious. Pulverized.
And then I put
puree.
And then I put some powdered egg whites in there, because that gives it like a wonderful body kind of creaminess. and then I throw my ice in there, and I'm using the little masher the Vitamix has because it's like the Vitamix is and you keep like just jamming the mixture down into the blade.
Do not try this in a regular blender.
Yes, do not, because I'm adding like very little water. But the thing that's awesome, like what comes out the other end, is first of all, it's absolutely healthy enough to be a meal, right? You're eating freaking egg whites and berries, and it's glorious. And then it's delicious, it's refreshing. So I would just encourage folks to, like, that which you would normally maybe make into a smoothie, just maybe try it with a little bit less water. Try throwing a little bit of egg whites in there. I do powdered because they're already pasteurized, and it's pretty awesome. So,
assembly at its finest.
Assembly at its finest for those of us who are not trained pastry chefs like Carrie.
I have a question.
Yes.
There's nothing to do with strawberries or Vitamixes.
Okay.
Did you work out today before you came here?
No.
Oh, just wondering.
Okay. Speaking of working out, so I have other adventures, Carrie. Do you want to hear them?
Yes, absolutely, I do.
These are less appetizing, maybe, than the ones I just shared. So
I'll try and behave.
So garlic is extremely good for us. Like, hugely anti-inflammatory, orders of magnitude more anti-inflammatory than other foods. It has an incredible taste to it. It's also incredibly satiating. Like, if you eat garlic, like, in mass, it really satisfies. It's good. It's good eating. Anyway, but it's always like, what do you do with garlic? It's kind of a pain to cut up, blah, 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 blah. I took garlic.
I'm scared.
I took garlic. So the cloves you get them at Costco, they're already like peeled and such. Put them in the Vitamix. I put some onions in the Vitamix. Put some eggs in the Vitamix.
Whole eggs.
Whole eggs, yeah. And then I put a little bit of seasoning, like some Mrs. Dash or something like that, some salt, some pepper. Vitamix that up. Let it sit overnight because it was like poof. And you don't want to, like, I don't know what cooking.
Is that a technical term?
it was like it would probably be like eating a cloud at that point. And I made that like as eggs the next morning. Whoo! That was good. It was so good. And I even had a salmon patty.
So
with
garlic marinated scrambled eggs.
Yes, but it's glorious because the garlic, like you said, it turns into almost nothing. And I mean, you don't want to talk to me afterwards because I just ate a bunch of garlic and onions, but it's amazingly healthy. It's almost like that's like therapeutically sane right there. And it was so flavorful.
Fresh garlic, or did you saute it? Just solid fresh garlic?
Solid fresh garlic.
Marinated into eggs.
But then you cook the eggs, obviously, so that then breaks it down a little bit. But I'm telling you, if you are
I'm
lazy,
single, I can do that.
lazy like me, it worked out really well.
Daisy doesn't do kissing.
Daisy is one of your cats.
Daisy is one of my cats.
Okay. Just to clarify for the listeners. Beans. Carrie, you had questions about beans.
Well, people tend to get a little bit protective of their beans when they find out that we don't focus on beans as part of sane eating.
Yes.
So I thought it would be worth sharing your thoughts on beans.
So beans are, we talked in a previous podcast about oatmeal, and oatmeal is like just starch straight up. And it's going to be lower on the sanity spectrum than beans are. Beans are right in the middle, right? Actually, even in the first Smarter Science of Slim book, I say 0 to 2 servings of beans per day, which puts it in the category of if you don't need to eat beans because they're just like whatever for you, that's fine. But if beans bring you just huge joy, they have a fair amount of nutrition in them. They have the starch that's in them is a type of starch called resistant starch, which is not as easily causing metabolic chaos in the body. There's also some thought that they may help to cultivate the bacteria in our gut that is uniquely helpful. So beans, again, when it comes to sanity, there's really 3 big buckets. One is stuff where, as much as possible, you want to eat so much good stuff that you're too full for it. Starches and sweets. Then on the other end of the spectrum, you have the stuff you want to go out of your way to eat a lot of. Vegetables, nutrient-dense protein, and then topping that with whole food fats and low-fructose fruits. Those are things you want to go out of your way to purchase more of. Like when you're at home and you can choose, you choose that. And then there's things in the middle, where if you're at a party And the sanest thing there is beans. Don't feel bad about eating them, right? Like, those are in the middle. A lot of dairy falls in the middle. Like, people say, I really, really like skim milk. Then drink it, right? Like, I mean, it's in the middle.
Cheese!
Yeah, I mean, that's in the middle. So if you need it to be happy, eating those things in the middle, good. Just try to stay away from the things in the bad bucket and try to focus as much as you can on things in the good bucket. But again, the things in the middle ain't going to kill you.
It's a continuum.
It's all a continuum. So anyway, beans, the one thing I will say about beans, though, which is beans are not a good source of protein. So beans are like 70+% carbohydrate by weight, probably even more than that. A good source of protein, just to be rational, is a food that contains most of its calories from protein, right? Otherwise, it contains most of its calories from fat, which makes it a good source of fat, or contains most of its calories from carbohydrate. Like, if a food has 75% of its calories coming from carbohydrate, if that's a good source of protein, then what is it? A very, 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 very good source of carbohydrate, right? So when we say good source of protein, let's make sure we root that in a bit of common sense rather than just like dogma. Like, nuts are a good source of protein. Nuts are not at all a good source of protein, right? Like, they're 10 to 15% protein by weight. Same thing with beans. So beans can be good, but they are a carbohydrate. They are a non-optimal carbohydrate. They, I guess, are a good source of protein if all you're eating is rice and beans. Then beans will be the best source of protein in your diet. But again, because beans have more protein in them than rice, doesn't mean they're a good source of protein.
Right.
It means they have more protein in them than rice.
Right.
Makes sense?
I also want to say that don't forget to read the labels, because there's a lot of canned beans out there that are transporters for all sorts of insanity. Your barbecue beans, your pork and beans, your whatever sugar-rich sauces that beat. So just, make sure you're not eating a whole stack of trouble along with the beans.
Absolutely. And the other thing to keep in mind about beans is that I completely lost my bean chain of thought. Beans. Carrie, what was I going to say about beans? Damn you, beans! Beans strike again. All right. Well, folks, when I remember what I was going to say about beans, I will definitely let you know. And isn't guar gum a bean derivative?
Guar gum is a bean.
Oh, it is just a bean.
It is a bean.
Oh,
It's crushed
well, there you
bean.
go. It's crushed.
But
crushed
before
bean.
people get all excited and say, but you just told us not to eat beans, the amount of guar gum you use in any one dish is minuscule.
Absolutely.
And it's still better on the continuum than using cornstarch or wheat flour for your thickening needs.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So again, always keep in mind, if you're eating beans, you're not eating something else. And if you're eating beans for the protein, there's better places to get protein. If you're eating beans for the vitamins and minerals, there's better places to get the vitamins and minerals. For the former, you're going to be getting better protein sources from animal products, SANE animal products, and from the latter, you're going to be getting better vitamins and minerals from things like non-starchy vegetables and low fructose fruit. So it's always about what's the best. Beans are not the best. They're also not the worst. It's not about perfection. It's just about having complete information and making your choices accordingly.
And if you're craving beans, it's better than craving Pringles.
Exactly.
So eat some beans and
Eat
be
some
happy.
beans. And in fact, if you want, using beans as a topping or like legumes in general, like a hummus, if you really if a way to get yourself to eat more vegetables is to put hummus on top of them, do that. Like the getting the vegetables in your body along with some hummus is better than not getting the vegetables into your body.
Absolutely. Yep.
So again, every time, I mean, Carrie does a better job at this than I do, right? Is people ask us questions, we are obligated to say, like, here's what's best. Because you're not asking me for, like, give me the C answer. Tell me what's average. No, I'm going to tell you what's best. But, again, if your goal is not to be a fitness model, then you probably don't need to do everything perfectly, right? So just keep that in mind. So with beans, pretty clear, not the best, but unless your goal is to be a 100 out of a 100, don't beat yourself up about beans.
And if you enjoy them, eat them every once in a while.
And if you don't enjoy them, don't think about them.
Right.
You don't need them.
Just don't eat them with sugar.
Don't eat your sugar beans. I hate those sugar beans. Carrie, we talked about branched-chain amino acids.
We did.
We talked about sausage and kale in general and your lack of enthusiasm
For kale.
We talked about some Vitamix adventures, and we talked about beans. I think that's pretty good.
Awesome.
I love it. Listeners, remember, this week and every week after, eat smarter, exercise smarter, and live better. We'll chat with you soon.
See ya.
Wait, don't stop listening yet. If you like the podcast and if there's other ways we can help you, please join us in the Smarter Science of Slim support group, which is freely available at the Smarter Science of Slim website, smarterscienceofslim.com. There you'll find all kinds of free recipes and success stories and just all kinds of fun stuff, like how to help your kids go sane and just great community content.
And just one last thing before you go, if you wouldn't mind heading over to iTunes and up onto Amazon.com and leaving us a review, and then going over to Facebook and liking us, we would hugely appreciate it.